Hello, Chribba. Are you there, my friend?
Yes, I am.
Awesome. I just want to personally thank you very much for this, by the way, for coming along to say hello to all our new bros and some of our old bros. We probably have some medic up here as well. So, again, thank you very much for that. In a few minutes, we'll probably get to like a few questions and stuff, but we should all be landing on grid with your lovely mining ship.
Sounds good. And I just managed to actually turn off the join channel messages here because that was crazy when you all joined.
All right, everyone. So you can see we have a lovely revelation on grid. So, Chribba, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself before I get to torturing you with a few questions that I might have?
Sure thing. For those that don't know me, I've been playing this game for 15 years. So I got in a month after it launched. So I'm old and I'm bitter and yeah, that's about it, kind of. No, I've been very, what's the word I'm looking for? Involved with the community since a very early time, and I think that's also, or I know that's the only reason that I've stuck around for so long, because the community means everything, and I've been trying to give as much as I can back to the community through various websites and services and that sort of thing, which has probably gotten me to where I am today. And also that is yet another reason why I was invited to talk to you guys. And in real life, I'm working in the casino business, not to be confused with the in-game casino thing that has been before. So clearly I'm just tons and tons of more evil than in real life than I am in game. And I play solo because that's how I like it, and I've been playing solo for 14 years, although I never really felt alone, since I have all you guys and all the other people in Eve surrounding me. But it has worked out best for me in that sense, since I enjoy doing kind of what I want and not being told what I need to do or shouldn't. Being solo, that works out well for me then.
Thank you very much for that.
Do you have any other members in your corporation?
Nope. It's just me in the entire alliance, and I do have my alts, but they're in another alliance. So spread over all the alliances that I own, I am the only one.
Okay, so I have some questions for you. I suppose we can start off with the age-old question. How did you manage to keep a dreadnought in high sec?
This ship was actually built here back in 2005. Just after CCP introduced dreadnoughts, I decided that having a dreadnought was one of my goals. So I started out to produce the material and get it done, and I had it built in this system because at that time you could use any station that had a industry slot. In a way it was kind of like an accident, but I also was using Amar as my headquarters for everything. So that's the reason I built there, and kind of days after it was completed, CCP actually changed, or they released the winter patch at the time, which removed the ability to use high-sec stations for building capital ships. And then I just never jumped out. Everyone else that I knew of at the time, they kind of took their ships to low sec, because obviously having a dreadnought in high sec is kind of stupid, right?
Unless you want to mine one of those, I suppose.
I can jump to low sec. Obviously, if I do, I could never return. So that's the reason I've been keeping it here, because it kind of became the only one, or among the handful of capitals that were still in high sec. So I kept it around, and also because at the time I never really liked low sec or null sec, because it scares the living crap out of me. So that was another reason to just stay in high sec with it.
I'm curious. Do you play any other games outside of EVE Online?
Not that much. I do play some Overwatch when I just need some mindless shooting, but beyond that, nothing really. I try some stuff on Steam every now and then when there's something new released that is on sale or something like that, but there's never really been anything else that has caught my attention or interest in that sense. And also nowadays, or in the past couple of years, I have had much less time to actually play games, which makes it even less for me to put time and effort into something new.
Yeah, I've played some Overwatch. It's not too bad for, like you said, mindless shooting. Alright, so it's more of a curiosity kind of question. So, rumor has it, right, you have a lovely Veldspar tattoo or something on your arm, I think it is. Have you got any other game-related tats? Or, if you don't, what possessed you to get a tattoo from EVE Online?
I do not have anything else that's game related, and I think when I got the tattoo in the first place, I wanted to like keep a memory of Eve and what I loved about it at that specific time, because it had given me so much and I was so fond of it. And I was like, yeah, putting Veldspar, since that is my kind of thing, putting that on my arm was a good idea. And still no regrets, even though it's way later. Still doesn't really make as much sense now, maybe that it did before, especially since the target lock that I have on my arm together with the text Veldspar is a square, and obviously they changed that to a circle now. So that's kind of adds a little bit more to it in the sense of being nostalgic about it.
It sounds kind of cool. I'm kind of scared of needles, so I haven't got any tattoos. I'm kind of boring that way. But
I wouldn't say it's boring. I would say it's whatever someone feels. That's what they should do. If they want to get a tattoo, do it. If not, don't.
Yeah, I felt it might be a bit sore. That's why I didn't. Right, come here till I ask you, right? How did you manage to develop the huge trust in EVE Online that you've developed over the years where, like I wouldn't really know you particularly, but I'd be quite happy handing you a ship and expecting you to hand it back to me and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, that kind of, it's been a work in progress, because I just like you said, I started out back in 2007, I think it was, with just sort of helping friends, because they needed help with trading caps and super caps and that sort of thing. And the only thing I had to my name at that time was the website that I had created for the community, so like Eve Search or Eve Files, and they just kind of asked, like, can you help with this, because we don't trust the other guy. And the other guy was like, sure, I know who this guy is and he seems really friendly. And also, going back then, scamming in that sense was not, it was people were scamming, obviously, yes they were, but they weren't scamming in the way that they are trying hard to do now. So I think with the help of me and my sort of no name back then, helping out friends a little bit, the word kind of started to spread, and that's kind of, it just kept on growing from there on to essentially where I became the most trusted player in the game.
See, with those kind of trades and stuff, doing the in between like two people or whatever, did they used to tip you for it, out of curiosity?
I don't. It probably started out like tipping me a little bit in the beginning, because as I remember from the first one, it was just more between friends kind of thing, where they would just, oh, that's cool, thanks for the help, and then someone would send something small as just a token of appreciation. And it wasn't really until I decided to actually try to launch this, or launch Trust as a service, that I started to put like a price tag on it. So then it was more just selling the service. Before then it was, you could call it a tip, but it was more just like a small gratitude. I didn't get very far on the money that I got then, but it really took off when people started to actually pay for it, kind of thing.
Oh, that's kind of cool. Yeah, I was just being nosy more than anything. Anyway, more of my nosiness. So obviously digging up a wee bit about you. So I found you mentioned like back in 2014 that you might have something like 30 accounts. So now that about 4 years have passed, have you made many more since then?
Thankfully not. I have a couple of more, but I would say it's probably around 35 now. Because, well, obviously now it's even easier to make new accounts, but it is still around 35, and I don't see any reason to make more now, because I'm actually trying to make less of them, because it's the upkeep of even having 3 accounts is quite huge, and even more so when it comes to having 30. So it's really not that fun. It becomes more of a chore to do things. So right now on most of the accounts, it's actually just putting in as long skill queue as I can, and then kind of ignoring them unless I need to do something with the characters that are on them. But since I kind of stopped doing a lot of things, I don't really need all my industry alts and that sort of thing. So while I have many accounts, I don't really use more than a couple of them.
Okay, so I suppose the next question I want to ask you is, right, so we can see your awesome revelation here, right? So all of us that have shown up know about that now for definite. What's the Feld fleet?
That was just something that I decided to call my entire fleet of super caps and caps, because I've always been interested in collecting ships and to add to that, doing things in game that was not meant for like a single player. And that kind of, if we're going back, that kind of started with creating my alliance, because back then they were saying like, oh, alliances, that's just for the biggest groups of people. And I thought to myself, like, I enjoy this too, and I enjoy this game. I want to play it my way. I want to make an alliance. So that's kind of, I started. I saved money and I made my own alliance of the one person that I still am. And the same kind of went when they started to introduce caps and super caps, because they also said like, oh, Titans, that's just for, you know, the biggest of alliances. Those are the ones that's going to like have a Titan. That's their deal. And I thought to myself, like, I'm an alliance, I can have a Titan as well. So I started to working towards that goal, to like collect all the super caps and all the regular sub caps as well, and turning them into essentially a mining fleet. And that kind of became the Veld fleet, just chilling in the belt with a couple of Titans and super carriers mining away.
So Urson asked a question. Isn't that a very heavy burden, since people can really focus on small mistakes to ruin that reputation? Is there any moment that you say, okay, no more broking?
Yeah, well, obviously. When it comes to being trusted, yes, the fear of messing up is huge, and there's times obviously when things have gone bad, and I question myself, like, can I do this? Is this something that I want to do with the risk of ruining my reputation? But I've kind of come to the feeling into myself that while I might not be able to foresee everything, I can always do the best I can. And if something does go wrong, I can just be as honest and upfront as I can to resolve the situation, and regardless of what the reason might be that it goes wrong. And with that in mind, I've never really felt that I'm risking anything, because also I would, if something feels bad, I would rather say no, to not assist, just because that sort of thing, to keep my reputation as crystal as I can. And I feel that I've been able to do that well, to the best of my possibilities.
All right, we have some more questions coming in now, actually. Do you keep your capital fleet in NPC null, or how do you keep it safe? From Cade Dridden.
Well, right now, the whole capital fleet is kind of small, since I only have a Revenant left. I did sell my Titans and my super carriers, because it's to me it was the kind of thing to have and collect, and to have reached a goal, not necessarily having to keep it for all the time. But when I did have all of them, I kept them in low sec, and back then we had pauses, so they would always go to a pause and logging off from there. That's kind of how I kept it safe. So far, no one really tried to attack them, and obviously, since I only used them for mining, sort of in a entertaining way, I weren't logged on with them 24/7, and that's also thanks to those 30 accounts that I had supercap alts on many different accounts, just to be sitting in those ships logged off.
All right. So Kendra Cole now also asked a question. Has anyone tried to involve you by name in a scam?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Not recently though, but yes, people definitely tried to use my name before, even as well, just being an imposter, trying to use similar names, or they were trying to convince people that I've sent the money to Chribba, he has it, even though I wasn't online, or a part of the like mail conversation or the in-game conversation or anything. So yeah, people definitely try to use that, and I'm pretty sure that there's been plenty of people having been scammed in that sort of way, but I've always also tried to be upfront, especially in my posts on the forum relating to my like third party service that if anyone is saying something about me, verify that with me before anything else. It's just not worth the risk to take someone else's word for it unless it actually comes from me directly. So I think most people actually do have managed to not get scammed that way, but there's people have trusted blindly what someone else says.
All right. We have some other questions, but I'm going to skip them just for a moment and backtrack to them in a minute. I'm sure you get asked what's your biggest achievement most of the time in Eve. Obviously, you have many goals and you seem to get them when you want them. What's your biggest derp moment? Like, what did you really mess up?
I would say one of them was being scammed myself twice by the same guy in the same day. That's probably one of the biggest. Oh man! But then that's something that I learned from as well, and being a little bit too naive. But there was revenge dished out, so I don't feel too bad about it. Otherwise, I don't feel that I have many regrets. Obviously, if you are. I don't like losing ships, and I don't think anyone does. So obviously there's times where I would question myself, like, why would I fly my ship into low sec that way? Or like, why did I decide to drink tonight and fly that ship? But beyond that, there's not really anything that I do regret, because I think that everything that has happened to me and everything that I've done has learned me something. I've always gained something from it. Even if it's a bad experience, that is a bad experience that I've gained. So I don't really feel a regret from that.
May I ask, how much did he make off with?
Oh, the guy that scammed me. And this is probably 10 or 12 years ago or something like that. But I think they made off with around 3 billion. Because the guy that, the story was that a guy that was a friend or in the same corp as someone that I was talking a lot to, he said that he could give me like a Fleet Tempest cheap. So I was like, oh, that sounds nice. And he was like, yeah, I just need sort of like, as I always do, I need the money in advance. Sure, that sounds legit. Because obviously, well, he's in the same corp as my friend, so that sounds like a legit person. So I sent him the money, and he was like, well, in his sense, like, yeah, off I go to fetch your ship. And like 45 minutes later, he was like, oh yeah, by the way, it's like I can get another one for you if you like. Like I found another one for the same price. Kind of. It's like, do you want that too? I was like, sounds really good. Yeah, sure. Give it to. That's really good. He's like, yeah, cool. So I sent him the money, and he was gonna go get the ships for me. And well, obviously, no ships were ever brought to me. So I think it took a little bit before I realized, because he seemed to. Well, I just trusted him to be like, yeah, he said he was going. So I was kind of fooled by that.
Some people, man, just try anything.
Yeah, obviously. At the same time, I was like, I was more mad at myself at the time for falling for it. And as always, if you can get two for the price of one, you probably don't need my money to begin with. You could have bought one and sold it to me, kind of thing. So I was more mad at myself for falling for that, rather than being mad at him for doing it. Because in the end, scamming is also a way of playing the game, and you get like, he pulled it off. So clearly he is doing his job.
I have another question from Captain Steele this time. He wonders, any regrets in Eve, or alternatively, anything in Eve you have not been able to do yet?
There's, I would like to construct my own keep star from the ground up, not being given, because I've owned outposts by myself, but those have been like given to me. That's something that would be fun to do again, but at the same time, now I know that going in to construct that, it would get destroyed. So that becomes more of a factor. I think, do I want to basically throw that money away? Which is something that I was like, I'm not super eager to do that. And also there's an uncertainty whether or not I could actually manage to build that before it gets destroyed by someone, because I've always been playing by the feeling of I don't enjoy shooting at people. I don't enjoy killing people, and I'm in a way very proud of my kill list, or well, the kill mails in my bio, because I have no kills, and that's kind of how I want to keep it. So yeah, people say you could just like put defenses on your keep star and it would be safe because you can do that. Yes, but that also would kind of start generating kill mails for my corporation, and that's not something that I kind of want. So I think that's something I would like to do, but I probably won't be doing unless I decide to throw that money away. Beyond that, right now there's not any particular goal that I'm aiming for. So there's that, and no regrets in things that I wanted to do but haven't been able to do, because I feel that I've been able to do most of the things that I would want to do.
All right. Sears Solaris asks, what's your favorite deal to handle? Or what was your favorite deal?
There's been, well, I've done so many trades that it's hard to keep track of them all, but I think some that stand out to me in general is, or have been, pilots, nervous pilots are always amusing in a way. Not in a bad way, because I can see and I know the excitement that a first-time Supercap pilot has. So in that sense, those sort of trades have been very enjoyable for me, because I know the feeling of getting into a Supercap for your first time. And I know the feeling of being nervous about doing something wrong. So when I've been at trades where there's been new pilots and they make small errors, that's been very pleasing and entertaining in a good way. I'm pretty sure that if you ask them, they would not feel the same as I do. But I think in the end, they would probably also look back and kind of be amused that they forgot to train the Titan skill before buying the ship, or accidentally boarding the wrong ship, and that sort of thing. And also there's been times where the buyers might not have always known what they are actually buying, because I've had back in the days people that bought a super carrier and then trying to use stargates to jump or to get out. And for those that were here around that time, well, the time when you couldn't use stargates, that's kind of amusing as well to be like, but clearly some people don't do the research of what they're getting themselves into, and that gets confirmed when they try to use the Stargate and they can't, and then wants to sell the ship back right away because he can't use it.
All right, so many people know of your trustworthiness and good rep, plus, you having really cool toys and high set, but not really sure if everyone knows about all the wonderful events over the years you like to do. So one of the events that I found while I was stalking you, not that I'm a stalker or anything, was all the way back in 2008. It was a pod siege, destroy the tower. It was one of like 5 or 6 events you were doing in a group thing. Wondering if brief mention of what was the carnage that I presume happened during that event.
Well, the tower destruction was actually, I think, for me, it was it was a gift from the community in a sense, because I had lots of POSs that I was doing research on and things like that, and there was I would call them a griefer corporation that obviously found my POS and saw the info, and it's like, oh, this is one little lonely Care Bear. We are going to abuse this. So they declared war on me with the intent of just destroying my POS for fun, because there were these guys, they weren't hanging around in the system that I had my things in, so they weren't after the moon or anything like that. And it's like, this is in high sec, so there's nothing really to be fighting over. So it was a pure grief kind of thing. So when they started, when I realized that this is what they were kind of up to and what they were going and gonna do, I just sent out sort of like a tweet and that sort of thing, and said like, you guys, since I don't fight people and stuff like that, just come destroy my towers, because it's going to get destroyed anyway, so why not? That in turn changed into sort of like people starting defense fleets instead, and it's like, yeah, we're gonna save your stuff and kill these griefers instead, which was something that I wouldn't have imagined that happening, and to me that was a great gift of the community, like standing up for me even though I don't ask for it, just to show their appreciation for what I've done and that sort of thing. And it kind of just became a full-blown fight here, because obviously there was people taking the other people's sides as well, and also those that just see, oh, war targets, let's score some kills here. So I think there was a good number of people showing up to save the tower, while I was just kind of sitting back inside its shields doing nothing and just applauding both sides for making a fantastic event, and I think it was very appreciated by lots of people. And I tried to do what I could to give something back, to show my appreciation for what everyone was doing for me. And overall, I do remember that a lot of people later years, kind of when you meet them at FanFest and that sort of thing, they like come up to me and it's like, oh, I remember that time, that was so fun. And that's always it gives me a really good feeling.
So Draven679 has a question. I recently read that you used to run a series of free ports and that you decided to let go of that project. Would you be able to elaborate on that?
Sure. The New Eden trading network or NetC was an idea by some people to put up like just a network of Keep Stars and 40 Stars market-wise to make a trading network. And it had been running for over a year, but it kind of never really took off in the sense that everyone had hoped, because obviously everyone was hoping that this would be an ISK print kind of thing. But it never really took off, and the management and the logistics and everyone that was involved, the interest and involvement kind of dropped. And when I was talking to everyone, it was kind of decided that it's not really going anywhere. And with the changes to Citadel's, low power mode and all that kind of stuff, it never really became feasible to defend it in the way that was intended, because the defense and fuel and everything was costing way more than it was actually made from it. So it was a joint decision to kind of, and also for me to let it go, because the idea was that I would make sure that docking rights and all that kind of things were kept, which I did, but my involvement in it also became a little bit more of the administration part than I kind of would have wanted. So we decided to just, okay, it was a good trial run, let's give this to Ghost Lead in this case was the recipients of everything, or still is, since not everything is given to them yet. But that's kind of like just too much logistics happening and not enough resources by the people involved to run it in the way that we wanted. So instead of letting it die, it was just decided to live on as something else by someone else.
I have a question from Gigabyte Gekken. Chribba, can I get your seal of approval on my ISK halving service?
Does the other half come to me? Then yeah, maybe.
And then Aria Thalrar. Question, what was the revenge that was taken? So I suppose we're backtracking a wee bit to the scam thing. So so after I did realize that this was probably not the best thing to do, to send all the money to this guy, I spoke to the friend that was in the corporation. I just mentioned kind of what had happened. So they actually turned up AWOXing him and also getting my money back, because they was like, oh, this is we won't tolerate this. So like, if you want to stay in the corp, you gotta like send the money back. And he was like, oh yeah, he wanted to stay in the corp, so he did return the money, and then they ended up killing him and kicking him from the corp. So he blew everything, and that was kind of like a revenge on their part, I think again as in a way thanks to me for the things that I was doing, and also a statement from them that they won't tolerate that sort of thing, and especially not against people like me. So I have one of my own wee questions again now. What's your EVE Online playtime like these days? Are you still playing for 23 hours a day, or taking a more relaxed approach?
For me, it's a much more relaxed approach. I definitely do not spend that much time. Really, in the past 2 years, the actual playtime has been very small, mostly due to real life taking over. So I would say like the time I'm online now with you guys shooting fireworks at me, that's among the longer periods that I've been on in months actually. So it has been declining a lot. I also think that for me, that comes with a lot of it comes with changes that have happened that have made more my sort of play style in terms of being a third party. It's not needed as much, and with that it adds to, well, if I'm not needed as much, I don't really need to be online as much either. And also with real life taking over more and more, it makes it hard to prioritize Eve as I in the way that I did. Although I did look at my total online time a while back, and I'm still like averaging around an hour, which just shows how much I actually did spend online during like the peak days of my career. If I still 15 years later have an average on an hour a day online.
Tal Trassen has a question. Have you ever run for CSM, and are you happy with the game's direction over the past 15 years?
I've never run for CSM. There was a time when I wanted to, but I wasn't allowed to do so. And later, when I was able to run, I felt that I didn't have the time to do the good job, because I wanted to be a part of CSM, and I think that I would have been a good candidate. But I always felt that if I were to do it, I want to be able to make sure that I can give CSM 100% of the time that it needs. And I never really felt that I had the ability to do that, and I didn't want to like do a half-assed job. So that's primarily why I haven't been running, just because I don't feel that you would get, or the community would get what it deserves if I did run. And what was the other part of the question?
Are you happy with the game's direction over the past 15 years?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, I would feel that the direction the game is going now I'm not happy happy with it for my own sake, because it doesn't fit my play style as much as it fits others. But overall, yes, I'm definitely happy with where it has gone, and I don't think that we would be where we are today if it hadn't been like good choices. Overall, good choices. Obviously, there's always choices that are lesser. But yeah, I would say overall, yeah, I'm quite happy where it's been taking, and I'm still I enjoy it very much to see that 15 years later, this is still a game, and it's still a game that many people have close at heart and feel very passionate about. And it's not the kind of game where you just try it for 5 minutes and throw it away, because there's still a big core community around it. So I think it's definitely been going in a really good direction up until now.
Lord Bartok has a question. What would you like to see added to or changed in the game?
Well, I think since the very first CSM, I jokingly told myself that if there's one thing that I'm going to push hard for, if I do run for CSM, it would be capital mining lasers. But that's just to fit them to the belt knot here. So yes, I would still love to see that. But that also is just purely for my own bias and my own selfish needs rather than anything else. As far as changes goes, or other new additions adding, it's like I love mining, so I would totally love to see more mining related things. I know there's been plenty of talks for system-wide asteroid belts and that sort of thing for many years, and I know they added moon mining and that sort of thing, and it looks great and it feels kind of awesome. But I would love more solo mining things for me. But also in general, I think a little bit more focus on the small groups and the solo players. I know we're not many, and I know it's in the title here that we are multiplayer kind of thing. But I think for me it would add a bunch of more things to be able to do things solo and as a single player kind of.
Tonk Omnom sent me a question to ask you today. He asks, did Citadels have a big impact on your EVE Online-esque making, and if so, how did you cope?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I would say Citadel actually kind of killed the third-party business overnight. So yes, it definitely had a big impact on me making money, because Supercap trades, it kind of went from 100 to 0 overnight. As far as coping with it, that's not really a problem. And since I've been making pretty good money up until that point, so I have more risk than I need and will probably need. So that's my way of coping with it. And I think just the other impact would have been what I said a little bit earlier about me not really having the same sort of purpose, if you will, as I have had previously, because being that third party guy, with that not really needed in the same extent, the impact also I think added to me not playing as much or not needing to play as much, which don't get me wrong, it's also a good and relaxing thing to be able to actually be offline a little bit without feeling feeling sort of guilty that you're missing out or not helping people in need of help. So it's a kind of a love-hate impact overall when it comes to the Citadels.
Sikander Cole has a random question. How do you avoid being war decked?
I don't. Well, anyone can war deck me, and people do from time to time. I would think, or I feel a little bit that the way that I avoid it is more that I'm not a fun player to war deck, because I'm a single person and there's like no assets in space. So essentially, you're war decking someone that's gonna be docked, and that is docked most of the time anyway. If I go back to like my third party things, I would say most of the time, 9 out of 10 times, I would use an alt to go to the system where the trade was. So I would still be sitting in my station. So it's war decking me is more a waste of money than anything else. And I've always believed, like, if that's how someone wants to waste their money, sure, go ahead, do that. I have so many other accounts that I can use to do the things that I normally do. And I think that helps in a way. And overall, I think I am well liked so that people don't feel they have a need to war deck me. There's the occasional trolls here and there. Then there's obviously the trolls that wants to try and like instigate a fight by war decking me. They hope that they will get war decks from others. And I think most of the times when that has happened, you kind of feel what they are after. And if they are after trying to use me as a lure to get others to war deck them, I don't engage in that. I don't try to make an event out of it. I don't give them the opportunity or like the things they seek by doing it like that. And I think that also adds to it becoming useless to war deck me for that purpose as well. So there's not many war decks happening like overall, which obviously I'm thankful for, because I like that I can undock without having a war deck on me. But it's just doesn't make sense to war deck someone that for no reason and provides no target, so to speak.
We have a question from Urson the other day. He asked, do you have another alt that you use for scamming?
That is a pretty common question, actually. And no, there is no secret scamming alts. There's no secret PvP alts or anything like that. I'm just I just have the plain boring Care Bears listed in my bio.
Yeah, I just had to ask it. I blame Urson though. But Darth Gallifrey asks a question. Does market in EVE really self-regulated? And what do you think about the Chinese invasion on Tranquility?
So essentially, the question is if you can manipulate the market. Hell yes, you can. It's very much possible to do so to varying degrees of success. Absolutely. Have I done that myself? Yes. More for fun of it, to dump prices rather than actually gaining something of it. There is no doubt people that have and still do manipulate the market in terms of making more money. Especially looking at the Plex market has definitely had that in the past, and sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's harder to do that sort of thing. So I think overall, depending on what it is, I don't believe there's like Illuminati that controls everything. There's certain things that people try to manipulate, but many times market does regulate itself, or at least over time. I think the worst, or many things that just patches, if anything, is what might not regulate the market in a way that we hope it would do in sort of when it comes to supply and demand. But obviously it's been a while since I was doing a lot of things with the market, so I can't really say for the past year or so how it's been.
So the next question's kind of been covered, but I'll just read it out anyway, and you can deal with it if you want or whatever. For Texas asks the question, if it hasn't already been asked, how often does he undock in mine? I want to come back when I have a proper GFX settings and another time to see it in its full glory.
Sadly, nowadays it's not as much as it has been before, but also with the lesson of my play style these days, when I do log on, I am usually out mining. But sadly, you cannot rely on those 12 hours a day online time of me nowadays. But if I happen to be online, I'm pretty sure that I would definitely have time to undock, even if I was doing something else, just to show it off, because that's also a part of why I enjoy having the ship, because I know there's some history about it, and then there's people that hear about it, and they kind of it has become a tourist attraction, and that also a very neat feeling to have and to know. So I'll definitely try to give back as much as I can when I can, even if it's just undocking to show up for a photo or something like that. But keep in mind though, screenshots are $9.99 ISK, please.
Is that including tax?
Yeah, I'll go with that. I mean, I'm in Europe. I always have a tax included.
Aria Thalar asks, question, why were you not allowed to run for CSM, question mark? I thought every player can run for it, question mark.
Nowadays they can. Back in the days when I wanted to run but weren't allowed, that was actually due to I had something that at the time was called a media account, which is basically was basically a free account from CCP, and at that time those kind of accounts were flagged for certain things, and not being applied to CSM was one of those things. So if I had wanted to apply for CSM at that time, I would actually have to apply through another account, so like an all kind of thing, and that just doesn't make sense to run for CSM if it's something else than Chribba.
Seth Gates has a question. Question for Chribba. Do you remember all your alts names?
No, that's why I have them in my bio, so I do remember them, and also in Notepad and stuff. But no, there are way too many for me to remember.
Draben679 has another question for you. From your profile description, you had a couple of Dust characters. How involved were you in Dust?
Oh, I played it a lot. So if you're going back to one of the first questions, like, do you play something else? No, not nowadays. I did play Dust a lot, and I enjoyed it immensely. And I think that's probably also why I play a little bit Overwatch now, because up until that time, when Dust was released, I would say I played EVE exclusively. I didn't play anything else beyond. Maybe I had a short trial run with like World of Warcraft, but beyond that, it was nothing. It was EVE or nothing, pretty much, until Dust. So I feel I was quite involved in the Dust side of things, but never from the EVE side with the Link.
Gigabyte Gekken has a question. What is your favorite NPC empire?
Oh, I think I would go with Sancha. Probably just because I was spending a lot of time down in KBP Nullsec, or the system KBP-7, I think it was, around those parts in the very early stages of EVE. I was doing a lot of NPC hunting down there, so I think I did kind of enjoy the Sanchas there because they were also easy. They were just EM and thermal, which was a good thing. So I would still think they're probably one of the ones that I like from the pirates, and they also kind of hate me if I look at my status. Otherwise, always, of course, Ore is a favorite because they make pretty badass mining barges.
Space Warfare Development has a question for you. Do you own any EVE merchandise from the past? Question mark.
Depends on what kind of merchandise you think of. Fortunately, I do not own sort of like any parts of the Tranquility Cluster or something like that, because I kind of sadly lost out on those bidding wars. I do have other type of merchandise like the Eon magazines. I have all of those, and I have some of the early Eon awards that were given out. CCG game I do have. There's some stuff, but not a whole lot of them. Definitely not close to some of the people that really do collect all of it.
Then I suppose he has a follow-up question for you. What was your favorite tangible merchandise from the game, and what merchandise would you like to see in the future?
Each and everything that I have has a certain memory attached to it. When it comes to like the real life merchandise, I've not really bought stuff to buy stuff, or everything that I have is for a specific reason rather than collecting things. So I just like everything for its own reason. And if there's anything that I would like to see, well, obviously I do think that the like the models they've produced previously have been really fantastic. Although it's one of those things that it's like I would love to have, but at the same time I don't want to have them because they don't mean anything in particular and they collect a lot of dust. I think it's a shame that the floating nukes never really became a reality because that one was really cool. So if anything, I would hope to see more like kind of models of ships as long as they are really well made. And yeah, I think I would like to see more of those.
We have a question from Urson, Alcuz. Spent 15 years around New Eden, so you experience how trade hubs formed out of nowhere slowly. Do you have any thought on declining and emerging trade hubs after Citadels?
I think that is maybe a natural thing. Whether or not it is good or bad, I don't really know, because if I look back to when we had the super highways between the four empires, that was great for getting cheap stuff quickly, but at the same time that kind of took away opportunities for a lot of people to profit and do trade, and also to an extent to manipulate the market. So with Citadels and with that moving out a little bit more, I think it could become it creates great opportunities for a lot of people, but also with a certain risk then. And also, as much as I like trade hubs because it's easy and you can get everything, it is also quite annoying in terms of if you actually do want to sell something. Well, you have the undercutters, or well, you don't have one, you have 1,000 of them there, and to me that's annoying as a seller, and that's bad for trade hubs. So with that, markets being a little bit more spread out gives more opportunities for people to sell their things without possibly more competition. So I like it overall, and I would keep it like that. But I am fond of the sort of core trade hubs as well. But it is also nice to see, since we are doing this, and that's also something that I really enjoy being able to witness and kind of be a part of. It's that no one said that Jita was going to be the trade hub. It became that because that's where people went rather than being told where to go. So with that, if someone does, for example, make a really nice trading network like we attempted, and that becomes big, that's a huge accomplishment for them. And that is so nice to see that the players made this. This wasn't something that CCP said or adjusted. It was like, it's just us making that happen. And the history that we make is, I think, what makes everything so important in EVE and sets it apart so much from other games and other communities.
Now, in with a question from Deverus Finn Diver. What kind of ideas or advice would you have for a new player who, like you, tends to shy away from PvP for the most part at the moment? I just started playing at the end of December.
I think I have the same suggestion that I've been having for so many years, and that is kind of trying to focus on things that you want to do rather than being forced into a role that someone else tells you. It's kind of, I said this 10 years ago, and I think it's don't let anyone else dictate your goals. And I think obviously that has worked out for me, and it won't work out for everyone. But I think that everyone that should try to do it in that sort of way is like, if you don't like PvP, don't. You could do PvE instead. You can try and avoid people pushing you into sort of like that slot. But then in the end, it is a PvP game, which that makes it harder for if you want to be away from it. But it's definitely possible to do. And I think if playing solo is not your thing, trying to find like-minded is a good start. You might not find the right group of people first, but I do believe there is groups for everyone, whether it's PvP oriented or it's not. They're out there. Don't be afraid to try, and don't feel pressured. And if you find a corp that you feel pressured from doing things, if it's a mining op or something like that, maybe that corp isn't for you. So like, try to move on and try things, and just with your goals as a primary mission.
Okay, so the questions seem to have slowed down now. Has anyone got any more questions? Yeah, freedom.
Well, I'm also quite a new player in this game, just like 1 year old. I was wondering about this ship of yours. How long and what would be needed to take it down?
Without a war deck, you would probably need 500 or more ships, just guessing, and a really good suicide attempt. Otherwise, honestly, I have no idea. If there's one thing in this game that I'm really terrible at, it is PvP and PvP theory and shooting things, unless it's involving mining lasers, obviously. So I really have no idea how long it would take. Obviously, if I knew that an attack was coming, I would probably switch up my fit a little bit to give them sort of a little bit more, give me a little bit more time before I go down. But I think a PvP class in EU would probably get you a better answer than I can give in terms of my longevity here. So you guys been around for 14 years today. How are there many of you that have been with EVE Uni for that amount of time, or are you all new?
Myself, I've been on and off since 2011. E-Uni is the only player-owned corp though that I've played with.
Still enjoying it?
Oh yeah, if I wasn't enjoying it and helping the players and all that stuff, I'd be gone, be out doing other things that might interest me.
I was just gonna comment that I'm relatively new blood to the uni. I've only been here for a few months now. I played for a short spurt in 2010, but recently picked the game back up in 2016, and I'm playing intermittently. So not here for the legacy of the corporation, in other words.
See, they always come back, after a while.
Yeah, this is Kate. I've been with Uni for a few years now. Kind of the depth and passion that people bring to it. You've got many dozens, maybe hundreds of people in management supporting the Uni and the players in it. I've joined, and I find giving back is part of the pleasure of the game for me. So the fact that EVE can support it and the Uni has put together this great community. Is part of the joy of what EVE is about.
Oh yeah, definitely. I agree. I mean, that's exactly how I feel. If it weren't for the community, I would not be playing this game, or I wouldn't have been along for the amount of time that I have been, just because this community is something really special. And to add to that, even I'm really impressed what you guys have done here, and with all the teachers and all the, if I may call you students, because we're like you're playing a game, but we're still teaching others and helping others in that sense. And it's I don't think that would happen in the same way elsewhere. And I'm always so fascinated and impressed by the amount of work going into to corporations like yours, and the amount of things people put in to do this sort of thing and helping others. It's mind-blowing.
Hey, Chribba, Airsick here. Just wondering, I learned something new in the game pretty much every time I look at anything. I've only been playing for about a month, and the uni's helping me out a lot in terms of learning stuff. And do you find that you still learn new things 14 years later in the game? I know that like a lot of the landscape has probably changed. Maybe you're remembering old information, but like, is there anything where you're just like, oh wow, look at that? Because that's something that like for me is a very beneficial part of this game. I really like the amount of learning just intrinsic in the game.
Oh, absolutely. I do learn new things, and I think for me, part of that is also, like you said, I have lots of old information, so I constantly get new information to me. I mean, there's still many aspects of the game that I haven't touched. For example, if you look at wormholes and PvP and that sort of thing, that's a black hole for me. I know nothing about it. So I do learn things there, and I learn a lot by, just reading the forums, reading Reddit, and there's, doctrines and stuff from all these alliances, and, tactics and strategy and that sort of thing. So I definitely feel that I still learn things, even though nowadays I might not be as interested, so I don't retain all that information. But there's definitely been, aha moments, like in the past years when I stumble on something that I've not really encountered before, and that thing can still be, old, or we can do it in this way, and this thing works this way. I had no idea. So I definitely feel that I'm learning and progressing in that sense, which is good. Which also makes me a little bit like you have yourself, new guy. It's like, how do you not become overwhelmed with the information? Assuming you do, that is.
Yeah, I mean, I do get overwhelmed every once in a while. There's certain things like PI I tried the other day, and I did about 30 minutes of like research, tinkered with it, came back to it a week later. Sometimes, for me, that's kind of my process. Yeah, I was just wondering if you still find new things 14 years later, and it's cool that you do, because I find it's like outside of the community, one of the other things that's kind of intrinsic to the value of the game, maybe.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think one of the biggest ahas in recent time for me was actually when I upgraded my graphics card, and I could turn on all the effects and the lighting and stuff, and I was like, holy shit! All these years I've missed out on this amazing view, which was real nice to just like, oh, Eevee's pretty. I knew it was pretty, but holy shit, it is pretty.
Yeah, Nathan Emerson seems to have a question here. What were the biggest trade he has handled and trades that went wrong?
The biggest trade, if we're talking about total amount of ISK, that was around 2 trillion, and that involved a bunch of Titans being sold. Not at one go though, but kind of like a down payment with delivery over time. And trades that have gone wrong back in the very early days of my trading career was actually my second or my third trade. An old corporation. Some might remember or feel the name is familiar. It's Guiding Hand Social Club. They actually did put up a scam trap with a buyer and seller, or they were the sellers, but they kind of put a trap for the buyer and managed to ransom the guy for another 4 billion after he had purchased the ship, which was also kind of a bad moment for me, especially that early in my sort of professional service. But I learned from it, and they made me learn ways how to avoid that from ever happening again. And there's been another instance where a guy used a cloaked alt outside of the POS, and when the seller, or the scammer in this case was the seller, when he got out of the ship and before the buyer managed to board, he warped his alt in and jumped into the ship and took off. And at that time, he didn't really know who was scamming who. So I actually, in that case, I ended up reimbursing both parties, or essentially being out 20 billion from my own pocket, just to to remain or to keep my reputation, since I did as much as I could, but I couldn't really prove who did what. And then one of in the recent years, not really a trade gone bad, but trap was set up for me actually. So I was tricked to a trade, or a potential trade, and I got there and we were hanging out inside the post shields. And at this time, since I told before, I was like, many times I use my alts to do my things. In this particular case, I wasn't using my alt. I actually took myself, which was yet again something that I learned from. Perhaps I shouldn't always be using myself at these trades. But I got to the trade and to the post shields, and we were hanging out there waiting for the supposedly buyer to show up. And suddenly the POS shields went down. A sign went up. A Hector pointed me, and a couple of supercaps signed in. And I think it was at the time when I saw the supercaps signing in, then I realized so this is what's happening. So I obviously tried to get out of there, and I couldn't. So they took me down instead, and it turns out that these guys were doing it kind of for fun. It was a bright idea by the fleet commander in this instance, and they were recording it, and they were going wild on their TeamSpeak, because they posted the recordings and everything afterwards, and I can't be mad at them, and I do enjoy the experience, even though I don't enjoy losing ships. So I don't like the loss that I took, because obviously it's not for free either. But at the same time, I'm happy that I can be a part of their content, and you could hear the excitement of the people in that TeamSpeak when they were planning this and they were actually executing it. So with that, it's kind of like I'm happy to be a part of that content, and it was a fun experience for all parties. But obviously that made me wary afterwards, because obviously I'm going to take more precautions for myself, perhaps not going to the POS before everyone is there, and perhaps taking the money before I enter the POS myself, just to protect my own ass. But it was a good time, despite things kind of going wrong that way. And go ahead.
It just sounds a little bit like they were bragging about beating up Gandhi.
Well, yeah, in a way. Although I don't think nothing after it came as to bragging about killing me more rather than this was a fun thing. Because during the team speak, you even you hear hesitation, and people are like, "Should we really do this?" And it's kind of you hear the mixed feelings of people, which makes it fun. And they were good about it. They weren't like throwing, just dragging me through the dirt or saying like, what a loser I am. Everyone was like really happy and kind of thanking me for being a part of this sort of thing. But then at the same time, it's like, yeah, not that many have kill mails on me, so obviously that is something that people want to, and it's sort of like a bragging thing in a way. But I'm happy with that as long as people are not douchebags about it. If it's actually if they make it into a fun thing, I'm all game. Definitely, it kind of comes back to sort of those people that board deck me to grief me. That's just douchey. There's no fun in that. But if they do it for a purpose, for a story, and actually they make something out of it, and hell yes, that's fun. That's fun for everyone, even for me.
Space Warfare Development has a question for you. What was your happiest moment?
My happiest moment? Oh, I don't know. I do remember getting the Veldnot, those back in 2005. That was maybe not a happy moment in that sense, but it was definitely a proud moment for me. But I think, I don't know if I've had any. I don't know if I feel any like happy moments in that sense. It's more pride and general. This feels good because obviously that's how I have felt about all my goals. If my goal is to create an alliance, even if it's just me, I feel proud. Obviously, I do feel happy, but it's not the giggly kind of way. Hope that answers it.
Yeah, for myself, I think it does. Seth Gates asks a question. Have you ever lost the Veldnot?
No, not never lost it like that. There was one instance where CCP moved it to low sec. In a sense, that is losing it, but that kind of ended up as by today's terms, you would call it going viral back then, and people got upset that it had happened and the way CCP had handled it and the reason they did it and stuff like that. So it ended up being reversed. So they moved it back. So I didn't really. I lost it from Amar for a couple of hours, but I haven't lost it in any other way. And I hope I don't. But if I do hope that I lose it to coming back to what I said just now. Something special. If someone actually were to gather enough pilots to make a fully fledged suicide attempt and actually end up destroying it, then I'm game. I'm hats off, bowing to them. That is an impressive show of coordination and everything, and I would be happy to lose it that way. I would not enjoy it very much if I lost it in a lame way of a war deck or something like that. Even though I wouldn't be allowed to undock it if I'm at war, but
Question: How many Chribba corpses exist, and what do they go for these days?
Do I sense a suicide attempt coming in? I think I know of 4 corpses that are mine, so I'm confident that you would probably get at least a couple of billions for it. Obviously, you would probably need me to actually verify that it's real. So there would be go for a couple of billions plus my fee, obviously.
I'll contemplate that one day. Might buy one. Draben679. Speaking of Reddit, how did you end up becoming head mod of r/Eve?
I was a regular moderator at the time, and the previous owner was very inactive and did not really take much interest in the subreddit at all. So there was some discussions between the mods about moderating and permissions and that sort of thing. And when the former owner, I'm trying to think if I do recall this right, but I do believe that the former owner did try to step in, but not really with having the knowledge or interest or the best of interest for the subreddit when there was some drama going on. So we all kind of felt that it would be good to hand over the subreddit to someone that all the mods felt they could trust, had a good interest in the subreddit overall, and the other mods suggested that I would be the one to do that. So it was a process with the Reddit admins and the former owner to give me the ownership of it, just to make sure that channel or the subreddit would be kept for even, not suddenly end up as a private subreddit just because someone was angry or something like that.
Ersic Lowlander has a question. Has your brokering experience in game translated to or had any impact on real life interests /career? Also, how many prank phone calls having it public?
0 prank calls. I'll start with that, which is also surprising, but I think that also can show really how, regardless of how immature the community may be at every now and then, there's boundaries when it comes to real life many times. If it has had an impact on real life in terms of career and things like that, I don't think so, in not a direct way. I do believe that playing the role of the trusted broker does also influence me in real life when it comes to honesty and in general, like how you behave towards people, and kind of also like how I would like people to behave. So I think I've learned a lot from in-game to real life, but also a big part of me playing the Care Bear, the nice guy in-game, is what I feel how I am in real life as well. So I don't think I've made any big career moves thanks to it, but one of the things, or some of the things that I feel has impacted real life, is the opportunities that I've gotten by being the persona in games when it comes to real life interviews, and I've written some chapters in books that are EVE related and things like that. And I think that's definitely something that has influenced and sort of impacted real life for me to do those things, because I know for a fact that I would never have done that if it weren't for the game and for the role that I played in game.
I think that's all the questions. So I'm going to be nice and say I'll stop asking questions and reading out questions. So I'll leave it up to yourself if you want to continue talking, and if people want to ask you questions, I'll leave that to you guys. I'll still lurk and hang about, but yeah, man, I just want to thank you again very much for coming out today and taking the time to actually talk with us guys and share your experiences and even all that. So yeah, again, big thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you guys, and thanks for putting on a pretty fantastic fireworks show for me.
Hi, this is German679 speaking. Fresh Blood mentioned earlier, didn't introduce myself then. I did have a question in the chat that didn't get read off. Sweeping the floor question-wise, would it be possible to add direct links to the online player count for the different time ranges in EVE Offline?
What do you mean by different time ranges?
So by default, currently there is a separate link to the player count graph for Tranquility. But if you want to show the entire lifetime of Tranquility, you have to press a separate button. There's no way to directly link this graph from a URL.
Oh, right. Yeah, that is actually, I'm pretty sure it would be possible for me to do that. The reason it's the way it is right now is because of the Ajax, and the kind of like all-time graph thing is a cache thing on the back end, but I can definitely look into seeing if I can do some magic where you could just add a variable in the query string or something like that to get the all thing right off the bat.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. Thanks for answering all our questions.
My pleasure.
Since the floor is relatively open, you mentioned how you like ore because of all the mining ships they create. Have you ever flown a Rorqual?
Yes, I do own one. That was also part of like, I gotta collect them all. So yes, I do have one. I think, however, I last flew in it years and years ago. So I'm back at the time where it was just a mining booster ship.
So you've never run the excavator drones?
Nope, sadly not. So that's something on the list still to do. Like have that and use that, but then at the same time, fuck, those are expensive. But it looks really neat though, especially transforming.
Also, speaking of booster ships, have you ever run a sort of like public mining fleets of the sort, with like an Orca or something?
It has happened sometimes, because sometimes I use my alt to run an Orca just to boost myself. So at times I invite others, although it's pretty rare to see a lot of miners in Amar, since that's pretty much the only place I mine in. Because even here, if you look at the Veldnot, it's not a mining beast. It's more I use it because I can, not to bring in tons and tons of ore. So with that in mind, it doesn't really become a huge mining fleet because we would just end up depleting the field in a very short time, and then it's kind of like, well, okay, thanks guys, I'm done for the night then, because I was just doing this to relax.
Also, I think you may have answered this already, but have you been able to do any moon mining?
Not the new ones, no. I've only seen it, but I've not done anything like that myself or tried it. So I know very little about it beyond kind of like, it looks pretty damn cool.
I'm gonna butt in here real quick. I'm one of the new bros. I just started playing the game 2 weeks ago, and you made a comment a bit ago about how awesome it is that something like Eve Uni exists in this game. And I've played a lot of different MMOs, and this is awesome. But one of the things I've noticed is that Eve feels more like an old school MUD to me. All the old school MUDs I've played have that sort of big community environment.
That is just goes to show that that's great. That's what that is something that I think a lot of people do enjoy. And no, you said it is fantastic. Although that's a new, you're a new bro, so it's gonna be new bros.
Yeah.
When will you be able to call yourself just a new bro then? In 2 weeks more?
I'm gonna assume in 2 weeks when I can actually apply to be a freshman in the university. Because I've been playing.
Sweet. So good to see that. Just thinking about what Eve Uni is doing as well with teaching, because if I go back now, I'll have to go back 15 years, and I remember how it was then when we had to figure things out. And essentially, yes, some may know that the game was originally sold in a box, and it did come with a manual. That manual was out of date 2 months after release, so we were back to figuring things out by ourselves. So it's so nice to the support and the things that you can be taught through corporations like Eve Uni and similars.
I was going to ask Chribba, could we see the Veldspar fit?
Yep, I can link it in local. Although it's going to be a little bit of it's an old fit. It still fits, but it's one of the original fits that I used for it. Just because it comes with a special hold for things that aren't allowed in this ship anymore.
Oh wow, you still have the large rigs on a capital.
Large rigs and mining drones. Mm-hmm.
Too bad the dreadnoughts don't have drone bays anymore.
Yeah, it was a sad day. My mining drones.
So those have just been in there for years now?
Pretty much.
If you were to sell your high-sec file now, for argument's sake, how much would you sell it for?
It would probably be the answer that I had to this question for since forever has been it's priceless. There is no amount of ISK that would or that I would let it go for, and I feel it would probably be the same now as well, and now even more so since I don't need ISK. But if I were to actually have to sell it, I probably would. I would want maybe around 10 million.
I'll take it.
Oh, really? Cool. At least I know I have one buyer then. Now, I think if there ever were come to a point where there would be a thing or such a thing, if we think blockchain, but for games, so you could actually sell items and know that they are the real thing. I think that could be at that point I could probably make a more a realistic answer, and the price tag then would probably be way higher, since you could actually tell that this is the real thing. As it is right now, it's just a ship that no one can verify, and with that in mind, it's like, yeah, I would feel kind of bad to charge someone 100 billion for it, even if they were to pay it, because they wouldn't really. As soon as I let it go, I could never validate that this is the real thing anymore, which in my personal view makes the ship kind of worthless. It has some value to me right now because I own it and I know what it is, but letting go of it, it's kind of like the value is just a word of mouth value then, unless I could actually confirm it in some way.
Well, it's so iconic now that ship is just completely you, that selling it would just mean, it'd be just worthless. It wouldn't be Chribba's Veldspar anymore. It'd be somebody else's Veldspar, and do we even know this person?
Exactly, I agree, and I think that's also why I've always felt that it is priceless. There's no price that would make me sell this, just because this is part of who I am or who I am in game, and like all the stories and history and memories around it. Without that, it's just another ship that happens to be in high-sec.
I know I said it already, but thanks again, Chribba.
Thank you, guys. And also, don't forget to go to FanFest.
Are you going to be at FanFest?
Well, no, I'm not. I'm just saying, don't forget to go there because it's awesome and it's community. Fly safe, guys.